Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for welcoming me here this morning. I was said in the introduction, I'm one of the chaplains over at the hospital, at Grace Hospital, and myself and my coworker Dennis are also working here at Grace Ridge. This is something rather new for us. It just started a couple months ago, but as time goes on, we hope to be able to increase our presence here, to be able to get to know you all better and to just be able to establish a relationship with you. I want to thank you all for the music, for the lovely service today. Thank you for Ken for all his preparation in making this service. And I just wanted to let you know a little bit, just briefly before I start, a little bit about myself. My name is Francisco Risso. Thank you for trying to roll your R's. Rolling your R's is not an easy thing. We try to teach our little ones to do it, and they have to practice at it at first. But I think it's probably easier to learn to roll an R when you're a baby growing up than when you're an adult. And why do we roll our R's? Well, because my family is from South America. My mom and dad are from Chile. Has anybody ever been to Chile here? All right, that's great. Usually when I ask that in a crowd, especially when it's an American crowd, some people don't even know where Chile is. Where is that? Is that near China? No. Chile's in South America. My folks moved to this country several years ago, I think in the early 1960s, before I was born. And I was born and raised in the United States. Have never lived in Chile, but have gone there many times for visits with my family. And fortunately, this December we have an upcoming trip where I get to take my children for the first time. One of them is the little one. I have an 11-year-old and a 6-year-old. But anyway, I became a chaplain in 2014 because I had another career first, and then in 2011 I felt a call to go to divinity school. And so I attended Wake Forest University Divinity School from 2011 to 2014. And while I didn't know what I was going to do, I kind of went by faith. I knew that I wanted to go to divinity school to be able to work in ministry, but I had no idea what I wanted to do. And then while I was there, I discovered hospital chaplaincy as a career option, and I did an internship at Baptist Medical Center, and just found that I really enjoyed it, and that it really spoke to me in my particular calling. And so that's how I eventually ended up working here at Grace Hospital. I've lived in this community for 20 years now in Morganton, but originally my family moved to Hickory in 1989, so that was 30 years ago. And I'm like, wow, 30 years ago. I can't believe time has flown since then. I was just a young guy back then, and now I'm a little bit older, but hopefully wiser and more experienced. So that's who I am, and I'll enter into the sermon. I first read the gospel that I'm going to be talking about. It's Luke 17, 5 to 10, and it talks about faith and the attitude of a servant. So, the apostles said to the Lord, "Increase our faith." And the Lord replied, "If you had faith the size of a mustard seed, you could say to this mulberry tree, 'Be uprooted and planted in the sea,' and it would obey you. Who among you would say to your slave who has just come in from plowing or tending sheep in the field, 'Come here at once and take your place at the table'? Would you not rather say to him, 'Prepare supper for me, put on your apron and serve me while I eat and drink? Later you may eat and drink'? Do you thank the slave for doing what was commanded? So you also, when you have done all that you were ordered to do, say, 'We are worthless slaves. We have done only what we ought to have done.'" So if I just had more faith, I think most of us have struggled with that at some point in our lives. If I just had more faith, I wouldn't have any questions, so many questions or doubts. If I had more faith, God would answer my prayers. If I had more faith, my loved one wouldn't have died. My son, my daughter would have recovered. If I just had more faith, I would be more involved in the church. If I just had more faith, I would be a better person. a better parent, a better spouse. If I just had more faith, I would know what to do. I would handle things better. If I just had more faith, life would be different. That's an approach to faith that's as old as the apostles' own faith. It's the approach they have taken in today's gospel. Increase our faith, they asked Jesus. Jesus has just warned them not to be a stumbling block to others, and he has told them to forgive as often as an offender repents, even if it's 7 times in one day. That is difficult. It's a challenge to live that way. Increase our faith is their response, and it seems like a reasonable request. If a little bit of faith is good, just think how much a lot of faith would be. If McDonald's could supersize our fries and our drinks, then why couldn't Christ supersize our faith? The request to increase our faith and the belief that if we had more faith, things would be different reveals, at best, a misunderstanding of faith, and at worst, it demonstrates our own unfaithfulness, I think. Jesus is very clear that faith is not about size or quantity. If you had faith the size of a mustard seed, he said, you could say to this mulberry tree, be uprooted and planted in the sea, and it would obey you. Faith is not given to us in a packet to be spent as currency in our dealings with God. Faith is not measured out according to how difficult the task or work before us is. Faith is not a thing that we have or get. Faith is a relationship of trust and love. It means opening ourselves to receive one another's life and giving our life to another. The other one is Jesus Christ. That one faith relationship determines who we are and how we live. Faith is not about giving intellectual agreement to a particular doctrine or idea. It's not about how much we strongly believe Jesus' words or actions. When we speak of a married couple's faithfulness, for example, we don't mean that they agree with each other's ideas or even with their particular idea of marriage. They are faithful because they've committed themselves to each other in love and trust. They are faithful because they continually give their life to one another and receive the other's life as their own. They are faithful because they carry with them that one relationship wherever they go and in all that they are and all that they do. So it's in our faith relationship with Jesus. Faith will not, however, change the circumstances of our lives. Instead, it changes us. Living in faith does not shield us from pain and difficulties in life. It doesn't undo the past and will not guarantee a particular future. But rather, faith is the means by which we face and deal with the circumstances of life, the difficulties, the losses, the joys, the successes, the opportunities, and the possibilities. Faith doesn't give us a pat on the back, a reward, or a promotion in God's eyes. It's simply the way in which we live and move and have our being, so that at the end of the day, the faithful ones can say without pride or shame that we have done only what we ought to have done, nothing more and nothing less. We have lived in openness to, in trust to, and in love for Christ. We have allowed him to guide our decisions, our words, and our actions. We have been sustained by him in both life and in death. Faith, however, does not live or is not lived in the abstract. It's practiced day after day in the ordinary circumstances of our daily lives. Some days when the pain and the heaviness of life seems more than we can carry, it is by faith, our relationship in Jesus, that we get up every morning and face the reality of life. Other days present other circumstances. When we feel the pain of the world and respond with compassion by feeding the hungry, by housing the homeless, by speaking for justice, when we experience the brokenness of a relationship and when we offer mercy and forgiveness, when we see the downtrodden and we offer our presence and our prayers. In all those we have lived, seen, and acted by faith. Then there are also days when we feel powerless, when we feel lost and don't know the way forward. By faith, we sit in silence and wait. Faith, then, is how we live. It's the lens through which we see ourselves, others, and the world. The criterion by which we act and we speak. Faithfulness means that no matter where we go, no matter what circumstances we face, we do so in relationship with the one who created, loves, sustains, and redeems us. The one who abolished death and brought life and immortality to light through the gospel. So Jesus doesn't supersize our faith. It's not necessary. We live by faith because we have enough faith. Not because we have enough faith, but because we have faith. Any faith, even mustard seed size faith. That is all we need, and that's what Jesus believes, and that's what we should believe. The question is not how much faith we have, but rather how are we living the faith that we do have? How is our faith, our relationship with Jesus, changing our lives, our relationships, the lives of others? If it is not, then more of the same won't make any difference. The mustard seed of faith is already planted within us. It's Christ himself. He has withheld nothing from us. We already have enough. We already are enough. We don't need more faith. But what we do need is more response to the faith, to the Christ, to the mustard seed, the relationship that we already have.